Professor and HOD of Electrical Department, College of Engineering, Kidangur. She did her MTech from NIT Calicut with first rank and has completed PhD from Calicut University. She's having more than 23 years of teaching experience, and she's also presently a member of KTU Curriculum Revision Committee and also the reviewer for two international journals in control system. Her areas of interest are control system, signal processing, and artificial intelligence. So we are actually lucky to have such a passionate faculty as our resource person today.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today I would like to give you an overview about the contents in module 6 of electromagnetic theory. Actually, this electromagnetic theory module 6 can be divided into two parts. One is the plane waves propagating to different media. And the second part is, okay, as electrical people, we are more concerned about the waves through the transmission line. Okay. Now, in the last two sessions of electromagnetic field theory, Professor Dinulal explained the Maxwell's equations, which are the basis of any waves in a very effective manner. So these are the Maxwell's equations, and don't forget this throughout your EMT course. So here the first column, this is nothing but the differential form of Maxwell's equations, and the second column is nothing but the phasor form of that Maxwell's equation, and the third column are the laws from which these equations are derived. Now, what is an electromagnetic? We know that the electromagnetic waves, or simply waves, are means of transporting energy from one source to a destination. There are so many electromagnetic waves around us, like mobile signals, TV signals, radar beams, etc. But the mediums through which this electromagnetic wave travels differs. So we can generally classify these mediums into four categories, as the first one as free space, then conducting medium, and the dielectric, where this dielectric can again be divided into two, as a lossless dielectric as well as a lossy dielectric. So coming to the characteristics of this medium, we know that a free space, the conductivity is equal to 0. So it means that sigma equal to 0. And on the other hand, for a good conductor, the conductivity is approximately equal to infinity. It means that sigma is approximately equal to infinity. Now the difference between lossless and lossy dielectric is nothing but, in a lossless dielectric, as the wave propagates through that media, there are no power loss. But in a lossy dielectric, some power loss occurs when the wave propagates through that medium. So you can say that in a lossless dielectric, it is a perfect dielectric where the conductivity is approximately equal to 0, and for a lossy dielectric, the conductivity is not equal to 0. So first we will move on to the electromagnetic wave propagation in a lossy dielectric. So as I already told you, in a lossy dielectric, there are no power loss occurs. So we will consider a linear homogeneous lossy dielectric medium where the volume charge density rho v is equal to 0. So again we know that from the Maxwell's equations, curl E is equal to minus j omega mu h, and curl h is equal to sigma plus j omega epsilon into E. Now we will take the curl of the first equation, which will give you curl E is equal to minus j omega mu into curl h. Okay, now we have studied one identity where curl A, or you can say that del square A is equal to the gradient of divergence of A minus curl A, where A is any vector quantity. So you can write curl A is equal to nothing but gradient of div A minus del square A. So the previous equation can be written as curl E is equal to gradient of div E minus del square E. Now what is div E? From Gauss's law, we know that it is equal to rho v by epsilon 0, and here volume charge density is equal to 0, and hence we can say that this del square E is equal to nothing but J omega mu into curl H. Again curl H. Curl H is equal to nothing but sigma plus J omega epsilon into E. So substituting that, we will obtain del square E is equal to J omega mu into sigma plus J omega epsilon into E. Now this term can be taken as a constant value which is equal to gamma square, where gamma is nothing but the propagation constant. So you can write this equation as del square E minus gamma square E equal to 0, or similarly you can write the next equation as del square H minus gamma square H equal to 0. Now these two equations, that is del square E minus gamma square E equal to 0 and del square H minus gamma square H equal to 0, are known as the Helmholtz equations or the vector wave equations. Now here you know that what is gamma square? Gamma square is equal to J omega mu into sigma plus J omega epsilon. Now here we can multiply this J omega mu inside. So it becomes equal to J omega mu sigma plus J square into omega square into mu epsilon. J square is nothing but minus omega. So this term becomes equal to minus omega square mu epsilon plus J omega sigma mu. And we know that this gamma is nothing but a complex quantity. So that can be defined as alpha plus J beta, where alpha is nothing but the attenuation constant and beta is nothing but the phase shift. So taking the square of this one, that is gamma square, which is equal to alpha plus J beta the whole square, it becomes equal to alpha square plus 2J alpha beta minus beta square, because J square beta square is nothing but minus beta square. So equating that with equation 6 and equating the real and the imaginary parts, that is taking the square of equation 7, then equating with the real and imaginary parts of equation 6, we will get two equations as alpha square minus beta square is equal to minus omega square mu epsilon, and 2 alpha beta is equal to sigma omega. So we have two unknowns alpha and beta, two equations, solve for it. You will get the values for alpha and beta. Alpha is equal to nothing but omega into root of mu epsilon by 2 into root of 1 plus sigma by omega epsilon the whole square minus 1. And in the case of beta, this minus 1 becomes equal to plus 1. So you have to remember these two equations. Now coming to the plane wave propagation through a lossless dielectric. Lossless dielectric is where when wave propagates through that medium, no power loss occurs. Or you can say that sigma is approximately equal to 0. We have the equation for alpha and beta like this. This we have already derived. Now here, give sigma is equal to 0. So sigma is equal to 0. So what happens is, here comes root 1 minus 1. The value becomes equal to 0. So alpha is equal to 0. What happens to beta? This term is equal to 0. So root 1 plus 1, 2. That 2 and 2 get cancelled. So we will obtain alpha is equal to 0 and beta is equal to omega into root of mu epsilon. Now what is the wave velocity? Okay, the wave velocity is nothing but the velocity with which a wave propagates through a medium. We have the equation for wave velocity, omega by beta. Here beta is equal to omega into root of mu epsilon. Substitute that, you will get the equation for wave velocity as 1 divided by root of mu epsilon. Now coming to the next factor, wavelength. So wavelength is nothing but the distance between two consecutive crest or troughs in a wave. So that wavelength lambda is given by 2 pi by beta. Substitute the value for beta lies omega into root of mu epsilon. Now another term is nothing but the intrinsic impedance of the wave. So eta. Eta is equal to, we know that it is nothing but the ratio of electric field intensity to H. So here it becomes equal to root of mu by epsilon. So now we will move on to the plane wave in free space. So the difference between free space and the lossless dielectric is nothing but the mu and epsilon will change to mu 0 and epsilon 0. So you have to replace that mu and epsilon in lossless dielectric with mu 0 and epsilon 0. So the wave velocity becomes equal to 1 divided by root of mu 0 epsilon 0. So substituting the values of mu 0 and epsilon 0, which I have already known to you, you will get it. The wave velocity becomes equal to 3 into 10 raised to 8, which is same as the velocity of light. So it means that the electromagnetic waves travel in free space at the speed of light. Now, what happens to the intrinsic impedance in free space? Okay, this mu and epsilon changes to mu 0 and epsilon 0. Substitute the values, it will be approximately equal to 120 pi. So it is equal to 377 ohm. Or in other words, you can say that E and H are in phase. Now coming to the wave propagation through conductors. So in conductors, I already told you that the conductivity is approximately equal to infinity. Again, we will start with the equation for alpha and beta, where alpha is equal to this equation and beta is equal to this equation. So we know that when conductivity sigma is infinity, what happens is the sigma is very, very greater than omega epsilon. So what happens is inside this bracket, sigma by omega epsilon is a very large quantity. Square of that. Okay, it means that this one can be neglected. So outside equal to 2 pi f. So finally you will get, by cancellation of all the terms, you will get it is equal to root of pi f mu sigma. Now what is the wave velocity? It is nothing but omega by beta. Substitute the values. Then finally the wavelength 2 pi by beta. And what happens to intrinsic impedance? It is equal to j omega mu divided by sigma plus j omega epsilon. Now we will take this j omega epsilon outside. So j omega epsilon is taken outside. So what happens to this term? This term becomes 1. And here this term becomes equal to sigma divided by j omega epsilon. So we have taken one j omega epsilon outside. So that j omega and this j omega get cancelled. So the equation will become equal to mu divided by, here there is one j omega epsilon where j omega get cancelled. So we have one epsilon into 1 plus sigma by j omega epsilon. Again we know that the sigma by omega epsilon is very greater than 1. So we can neglect this 1. So it means that the equation will reduce us to root of j omega mu divided by sigma. Now here alpha and beta are same, which means that the electric field intensity E and H are by an angle. There is a phase difference of 45 degrees. Or in other words, we can see that E leads H by an angle of 45 degrees. Now the solution for this one, you can directly write E is equal to E0 into E raised to minus alpha Z into cos omega t minus BZ into AX, and H is equal to, okay, E0 by this eta into E raised to minus alpha Z into cos omega t minus beta Z minus 45. This minus 45 comes since E leads H by an angle of 45 degrees. So always we are assuming that the electric field intensity is along the X direction and the magnetic field is along the Y direction, and the wave is propagating through the Z direction. So here you can see that the amplitude is reduced or attenuated by a factor e raised to minus alpha Z. Or you can say that the amplitude is attenuated or decreased by the factor e raised to minus alpha Z while propagating in the Z direction. So, okay, you can see that it is attenuated. The amplitude is attenuated by a factor e raised to minus alpha Z. Or you can say that when an electromagnetic wave propagates through a conductor, this is nothing but the cross-section area of a conductor. So what happens is, as we go inside the conductor, the amplitude of electromagnetic wave decreases by the factor e raised to minus alpha Z. Or you can say that the core of the current carries very little current. Or in other words, you can say that most of the current flows through the surface of the conductor, which is termed as the skin. So here you can see that the amplitude is decreased by a factor e raised to minus alpha itself. So the depth, the distance at which the wave amplitude is decreased by a factor e raised to minus 1 is termed as a new term skin depth. So you can say that e raised to minus alpha z is nothing but equal to e raised to 0 into e raised to minus 1. E of 0 into e raised to minus 1. Or minus alpha z equal to minus 1, from where you will get alpha is equal to, z equal to nothing but 1 by alpha. So that term, that is the distance at which the wave amplitude is decreased by a factor e raised to minus 1 is called skin depth, and the depth of penetration or skin depth delta is equal to, from here you will get z is equal to 1 by alpha. We have already derived the equation for alpha for a good conductor. Alpha is equal to root of omega mu sigma divided by 2, and hence delta becomes equal to reverse of this one. That is root of 2 divided by omega mu sigma. So what is the meaning of this one? This electromagnetic energy is always transmitted through the surface of the conductor. It is known by the term skin. Here you can see that the skin depth is proportional to root of 1 by omega, or you can see that the frequency and the skin depth are inversely proportional. So what is the meaning of that? For higher frequencies, the skin depth is very, very less. So when the skin depth is very less, it means that the high frequency waves are just propagated through the surface of the conductor. Or in other words, you can say that the conductor only guides the wave, and hence they are called guided propagation. Now there are two other parameters in the case of wave propagation in good conductors. One is surface resistance or the skin resistance. We have already studied the equation for intrinsic impedance of a good conductor. Eta is equal to root of omega mu by sigma into angle 45, since there is a phase difference of 45 between E and H. Now here, what is delta? That is skin depth. Skin depth is nothing but root of 2 by omega mu sigma. So from here, what is the value of omega mu? We can take del square. Del square is equal to 2 divided by omega mu sigma. Then omega mu is equal to 2 divided by delta square sigma. And substitute that here. Omega mu is equal to 2 divided by delta square sigma. So that becomes equal to 2 divided by root of 2 divided by delta square sigma square into angle 45. Now this angle 45 can be written as e raised to j pi by 4. Now this delta square sigma square can be taken outside the root. So that becomes equal to 1 divided by delta sigma into root 2 into angle 45, rewritten as e raised to j pi by 4. What is e raised to j pi by 4? E raised to j theta cos theta plus j sin theta. So cos pi by 4 plus j sin pi. Now here root 2 and root 2 get cancelled, and here also root 2 and root 2 get cancelled. So the equation reduces to 1 plus j divided by delta. So it means that this intrinsic impedance has got a real term as well as an imaginary term. Now this real term of intrinsic impedance is termed as the surface resistance or the skin resistance. It is defined as 1 by sigma. Now another term is group velocity and the phase velocity. So when we are talking about phase velocity and group velocity, imagine the case of a set of people running for a marathon. So from the starting point, all the runners start at the same time. Individual runners can be treated as the phase velocity, and the velocity of that entire group can be treated as the group velocity. Okay, so in the case of the wave, here you can see that the velocity of a phase point is termed as the phase velocity, and the velocity of the entire wave packet is termed as the group velocity. So it is defined as the velocity with which the constant phase point travels is called the phase velocity. So it means that in this equation, this omega t minus bz is a constant. Okay, so what happens is omega t minus bz is a constant. We will differentiate this. What happens is omega minus beta into dou z by dou t is equal to constant. Constant. Now what is dz by dt? It is nothing but the velocity. So the velocity is equal to omega by is equal to 1 by root of mu epsilon. So in free space, the velocity is equal to the phase velocity and equal to the velocity of light. Now, what is group velocity? It is nothing but the velocity with which the resultant waves are traveling in the medium. And again, in the case of dispersive medium, that is, each of the waves are traveling with different velocities is termed as a dispersive medium. Okay, in that case, the velocity is less than the velocity of light. And here, in that case, the group velocity is equal to root of 1 minus fc divided by f the whole square divided by root of mu epsilon, where fc is nothing but the cutoff frequency. This cutoff frequency is nothing but below the cutoff frequency, the alpha, there is only alpha, no beta. So phase shift is means that there won't be any wave propagation when frequency is less than cutoff frequency. So this is all about the first portion. So
Okay.
next is nothing but the transmission line. Okay. Now here, transmission line. We know that there are different structures for the transmission line. Okay. Like coaxial cable as well as parallel wires and so on. So at this point, we are not concerned about the structure of the transmission line. Okay. So here, we are just considering the transmission line as two conductors, okay, which is connected from source to load to transfer power. Okay, so the transmission line is nothing but it will propagate energy from source to load. Now, this energy can be either power or information, either power or information. Okay, now we have to derive the transmission line wave equation. We know that the transmission line, inside the transmission line, the parameters, that is the electrical parameters, are distributed. So what we will take is, we will take a small section of the transmission line such that it is a lumped parameter. The electrical parameters can be considered as a lumped parameter. So here, this is nothing but a section of a transmission line. So here, this R, L, G and C are nothing but the resistance, inductance, conductance and capacitance per unit values. So this delta Z is very, very small. Okay. Now what we will do is, we have to apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law. So for that, we will take this loop. So writing the KVL equations, we can write it as V, that is the input voltage is equal to R into I into delta Z, where I is the current through that parameter, then plus L into delta Z into di by dt plus V plus delta. So you can write it is equal to V is equal to R into I into delta Z plus L into di by dt into delta Z plus V plus delta V. Now this V and V get cancelled. So we can write the equation for delta V by delta Z, right? So delta V by delta Z. So what is the term? Delta V by delta Z equal to minus of Ri plus L into di by dt. Now this we can apply the limit. That is delta Z is assumed to be 0. So what happens is, taking the limit delta Z tending to 0, this becomes equal to dou V by dou Z equal to minus Ri into Ri plus L into di by dt. So similar to this one, we can apply Kirchhoff's current law to this point. So obviously we will get an equation for current. That is dou I by dou Z. Obviously the equation will be minus of GV plus C into dou V by dou T. So these two equations we will obtain from the Kirchhoff voltage law and the Kirchhoff's current law from this circuit. Okay. Now taking the phasor form. What is phasor form? Nothing but dou by dou T can be replaced by j omega. So dou V by dou Z is equal to minus of Ri plus j omega Li, and dou I by dou Z equal to minus of Gv plus j omega C. Now what we will take is, we will differentiate this equation 12 with respect to Z. So what happens is, dou V by dou Z square equal to minus of R. R is a constant, into dou I by dou Z plus j omega L into dou I by dou Z. So this equation, my dou square V by dou Z square equal to minus R plus j omega L into dou I by dou Z. Now we can substitute for this dou I by dou Z. What is that? Minus Gv plus j omega C. So substituting that, this equation will become reduced to dou square V by dou Z square equal to R plus j omega L into G plus j omega C into. Now we can replace this term, that is R plus j omega L plus G plus j omega C, as gamma square, the propagation constant. So this term becomes equal to dou square V divided by dou Z square minus gamma square V equal to 0. So dou square V by dou Z square minus gamma square V equal to 0. Similarly, the expression for dou Z dou square I divided by dou Z square will becomes equal to dou square I by dou Z square equal to minus gamma square I equal to 0. The gamma is the propagation constant. And these two equations are known as the telegraphic equations. Telegraphic equations or the transmission line wave equation. Normally there will be a question for the university to derive the transmission line wave equation. So you have to start from the section of the transmission line, then apply KVL and KCL and derive up to dou square V by dou Z square minus gamma square V equal to 0. And this, the 15th equation you can directly write as similarly. Okay. Now here the solution of the wave equation is obtained as Vz equal to the solution for the telegraphic equation. Applying the usual mathematical formulas, we will obtain this as V0 plus into e raised to minus gamma Z plus V0 minus into e raised to gamma Z. Now, what is this V0 plus and V0 minus? These are nothing but the fundamental voltage waves traveling in the positive Z direction. This is nothing but V0 minus is nothing but the fundamental voltage traveling in the negative Z direction. Similarly, I0 plus is the current wave traveling in the positive Z direction, and I0 minus is the current wave propagating in the negative Z direction. Now again we will differentiate this one. Dou V Z by dou Z. So here you can see that one incident wave and one reflected wave. So incident waves are the waves, that is voltage or current waves traveling from the source to the load, and reflected waves are waves traveling from load back to source or reflected from the load. So V0 plus and I0 plus are the incident waves here, and V0 minus and I0 minus are the reflected waves. Okay. Now here there are two waves propagating in the opposite direction, and that will produce a standing wave. Okay, we will see that later. So here we will differentiate this equation with respect to Z. Okay, so what happens is, we are differentiating this. It means that V0 plus into e raised to minus gamma Z into minus gamma plus V0 minus into e raised to gamma Z into plus gamma. Okay, then here the left hand side becomes equal to dou V Z by dou Z. have one equation for dou V Z by dou Z. That is equation number 12. Previously, we have derived that. That is R I plus j omega L I. So equating that and this one, write this as minus of Ri plus j omega Li is equal to minus gamma into E0 plus e raised to minus gamma Z plus gamma into V0 minus into e raised to gamma Z. So this minus and minus term cancelled, and what is I of Z then? I of Z becomes equal to, this term will come to left hand side. So this I of Z becomes equal to gamma divided by R plus j omega n. Okay, gamma divided by R plus j omega into V0 plus e raised to minus gamma z minus, because minus and minus get cancelled. So here comes a minus term. So always you have to remember this minus term. Okay, so V0 plus e raised to minus gamma z minus V0 minus into e raised to gamma z. Now, an equation for I. What is that? Equation 70. This is equal to I0 plus e raised to minus gamma z plus I0 minus into e raised to gamma z. Okay, substitute that. Okay, now you have two equations, this and this. Now, what will be the value of V0 plus divided by I0 plus E, nothing but R plus j omega L divided by gamma? What will be the value of minus V0 minus divided by I0 minus? Again, that will be equal R plus j omega L divided. So once again, this V0 plus divided by I0 plus equal to R plus j omega L by gamma, and minus V0 minus divided by I0 minus is equal to again R plus j omega L divided by gamma. V0 plus divided by I0 plus equal to minus V0 minus divided by I0 minus, which is equal to R plus j omega L by gamma. Gamma, you have derived an equation for gamma. Gamma square is equal to R plus j omega L into G plus j omega C. So gamma is equal to root of R plus j omega L into G plus j omega C. So cancelling the terms, obtain an expression as root of R plus j omega L divided by G plus j omega C. And this term is defined as Z0, which is known as the characteristic impedance of the transmission line. So you have to remember Z0 is termed as a characteristic impedance. So this time we have discussed about the intrinsic impedance. Intrinsic impedance is nothing but the impedance of the wave when it propagates through a medium. Characteristic impedance, this is nothing but the impedance offered by a transmission line. Okay. Now we will move on to the lossless transmission line. So as in the case of a lossless dielectric medium, in the case of a lossless dielectric medium, we have taken the conductivity is equal to 0. So here again, in a lossless transmission line, the power loss is equal to 0, which means that the power is lost only in the case of resistors and conductors. So it means that R equal to 0 and G equal to 0. Now what is the equation for propagation constant? Gamma is equal to root of R plus j omega L into G plus j omega C. Now here R and G are equal to 0, which means that it becomes equal to root of J square omega square L C. So that J square omega square can be taken outside. So the equation will becomes equal to J omega into root of LC. We have already known alpha gamma is nothing but a complex quantity which is defined as alpha plus J beta. That is attenuation constant plus J into phase shift. So here there is no alpha. There is no real part. So alpha is equal to 0 and beta is equal to omega into root of LC. So alpha is equal to 0 and beta is equal to omega into root of LC. Now what is Z0? Z0 we have the equation. Z0 is nothing but characteristic impedance, which is equal to a root of R plus j omega L divided by G plus j omega C. R equal to 0, G equal to 0. So what happens is j omega and j omega get cancelled. So characteristic impedance is equal to root of L by C. Now what is the velocity of propagation? U, wave velocity. That is equal to omega by beta. Now here what is the value of beta? Beta is equal to omega into root of LC. Substitute that. Omega and omega get cancelled. So this becomes equal to 1 divided by root of LC. Now the solution for lossless transmission line. In the case of a general transmission line, we obtain the solution as V of Z into V of Z equal to V0 plus into e raised to minus gamma Z plus V0 minus into e raised to plus gamma Z. So here you can see that here alpha is equal to 0. So since alpha is equal to 0, we can take that there is only beta term. So the solution will reduce to V of Z equal to V0 plus into e raised to minus beta Z plus V0 minus into e raised to beta Z. And similarly, I of Z equal to I of 0 plus e raised to minus beta Z plus I of 0 minus into e raised to plus beta Z. Now there are two more parameters as voltage reflection coefficient. Now here you can imagine that suppose some water or some liquid flows through a pipe and we are closing the other end of the pipe. What happens is the water hits the other end and it comes back. Suppose we are closing this end also. So what happens is the water wave, it is traveling from one end to another. But a point inside the pipe will feel as water is in standstill stage. So there is a reflection occurs from the other side. There may be short circuit or open circuit. Okay. So here you can see that we have to define how much a reflection occurs or how much or what part of waves are reflected from one end. So here we have V of Z equal to V0 plus into e raised to minus gamma Z plus V of 0 minus into e raised to gamma Z. Similarly, for I of Z, I0 plus into e raised to minus gamma Z plus I0 minus into e raised to minus gamma Z. And again, we have the equations for characteristic impedance as V0 plus divided by I0 plus, which is equal to minus of V0 minus divided by I0 minus equal to Z0. So without loss of generality, we can assume that suppose we have a source and we have a load. So the power or the energy is transferring from the source to the load. We can assume that at the load side, we will take Z equal to 0. It means that the generator will be at a distance of Z in this direction or at a point minus Z. Okay, so at Z equal to 0 or at the load side, if you are taking this V of Z term becomes equal to V of Z equal to V0 plus into e raised to minus gamma Z. What is e raised to minus gamma Z? E raised to minus gamma into 0. So e raised to 0 becomes equal to 1. Similarly, here e raised to 0 becomes equal to 1. So this becomes equal to V0 plus V0 minus. So V0 plus V0 minus. Now what happens to I0? Here, this I0 plus can be written as, this is I0 plus. What is I0 plus? V0 plus divided by Z. What is I0 minus? Minus V0 minus divided by Z. So once again, V0 plus divided by Z0 is nothing but I0 plus, and minus V0 minus divided by Z0 is nothing but I0 minus. So substitute that value of I0 plus and I0 minus in this equation. So what happens is V0 plus divided by Z0 into e raised to minus gamma Z. At Z equal to 0, what happens is this term becomes equal to 1 minus, what is I0 minus? That is equal to minus V0 minus divided by Z0 into e raised to gamma Z. Again, this term equal to 0. So we will obtain this equation. Or you can write what happens to V of Z by I of Z. This becomes equal to V0 plus V0 minus. These two terms equal to 1. So this becomes equal to V0 plus V0 minus divided by V0 plus minus V0 minus multiplied by this Z0. Because 1 divided by VC, this term divided by Z0 iota, this will move upwards. So V of Z divided by I of Z becomes equal to V0 plus V0 minus divided by V0 plus minus V0 minus into Z0. And this term or VZ by IZ, VZ is nothing but the voltage at the load side. What is IZ? IZ is nothing but the voltage at, sorry, the current through the load. So you can say that V of Z by I of Z, which is equal to the load impedance, is equal to V0 plus V0 minus divided by V0 plus minus V0 minus into Z0, the characteristic impedance. Now again, we will do one more thing here. We can take this V0 plus outside from the numerator as well as from the denominator. So the numerator will becomes equal to 1 plus V0 minus divided by V0. Similarly, the denominator will becomes equal to, we will take the V0 plus outside. So 1 minus V0 minus divided by V0 plus. So and that V0 plus get cancelled. So this equation will becomes equal to 1 plus V0 minus divided by V0 plus the whole divided by 1 minus V0 minus divided by V0 plus into Z0. Now we will define a new term V0 minus divided by V0 plus. That is the ratio of the voltage of reflected wave to the voltage of incident wave is termed as the reflection coefficient. So if the two voltages are equal, V0 minus and V0 plus are equal, tau becomes equal to 1. What is the meaning of that? The entire wave is reflected. Okay, so here the load impedance becomes equal to 1 plus tau divided by 1 minus tau. If no wave is reflected back, what happens is this V0, this is the equation for tau, the reflection coefficient. If the entire wave is reflected back, V0 minus and V0 plus are equal. So this becomes equal to 1. If no wave is reflected back, what happens is V0 minus equal to 0. So 0 divided by V0 which is equal to 0. So you can see that the range of tau is equal to in between 0 and 1. So if the entire wave is reflected back, tau becomes equal to 1. And if no wave is reflected back, tau is equal to 0. Or in other words, in terms of this load impedance and the characteristic impedance, you can define tau is equal to, by manipulation of these two equations, ZL is equal to 1 plus tau divided by 1 minus tau into Z0. You will obtain the equation for tau in terms of load impedance and the characteristic impedance as tau is equal to ZL minus Z0 divided by ZL plus Z0. Now, the next coefficient to be considered in the case of the wave propagation through transmission line is voltage standing wave ratio. Now, what is the importance of voltage standing wave ratio is, we know that previously we discussed about the reflection coefficient. And the reflection coefficient, it is a complex quantity. So whenever we are talking about the complex quantity, to measure a complex quantity, we requires amplitude as well as the phase. And we know that it is difficult to measure phase. So we will go for getting a real number to get an idea of what amount of incident wave is reflected back in a particular transmission line. Now here you can just see that I have already told you a one word what is a standing wave. So here you can see that one wave is moving in the forward direction, that is positive Z direction, and another wave is moving in the negative Z direction, backward direction. So moving in the forward direction can be treated as an incident wave, and the wave which moves in the backward direction can be treated as the reflected wave. But the superposition of these two waves is nothing but a standing wave, because that wave stands still. Okay, we can see that, or appears to be in such a way that the wave is not at all. Actually, there is a wave moving in the forward direction and a wave moving in the backward direction. So the superposition of the waves traveling in opposite directions results in a standing wave. Now here, okay, in this figure, okay, the red line indicates the voltage wave and this blue line indicates the current wave. Okay, there will be always a voltage wave and a current wave through a transition. So here you can see that the voltage wave have got maximum point at this point and a minimum point here. Similarly, the current wave has got a maximum at this point and a minimum at this point. Now, what is the physical significance of Vmax and Imax? Vmax occurs at a point in the transmission line where the impedance is minimum, and Imax occurs at a point where the impedance is maximum. Okay. Similarly, V minimum occurs where the impedance is maximum, and I minimum occurs where the impedance is minimum. So the ratio of V max to V minimum is termed as the voltage standing wave ratio. So VSWR in short defined as V max divided by V minimum. Now this VSWR can be again expressed in terms of tau as 1 plus absolute value of tau divided by 1 minus absolute value of tau. We have already discussed what happens to tau when there is no reflected wave and when the entire wave is reflected. When there is no reflected wave, it means that tau is equal to 0. And in that case, tau is equal to 0 means 1 plus 0 divided by 1 minus 1 by 1. VSWR is equal to 1. And when tau is equal to 1, that is the entire wave is reflected back. What happens is 1 plus 1, 2 divided by 1 minus 1, 0. It's 2 by 0. VSWR becomes equal to. So it means that the range of VSWR is from 1 to. So the entire wave is reflected back. VSWR becomes equal to infinity. There are no wave reflected back, then SWR is equal to 1. Now we know that this transmission line is used for transferring energy, power, or information from source to the load. And we have studied the maximum power transfer theorem. When the maximum power is transferred from source to load, when the input impedance is equal to the load impedance, or when the load impedance is equal to input impedance, maximum power is transferred from source to load. And this is very necessary to reduce the reflections. So here we have to match the input impedance as well as the load impedance. Now there are different methods for the impedance matching. First one is transformer matching. And this transformer matching is suitable only for low frequency applications. So in that case, we have to choose a particular transformer of proper turns ratio and insert this in between the input section as well as the load section. Now the next one is lumped element matching. Okay, we have we can choose or we can properly select an LC network, and we can place it in between the input as well as the load section. But again, the drawback is this is applicable only for frequency up to 1 gigahertz. Now, there comes another technique which is termed as the quarter wave transformer. So, in the case of a quarter wave transformer, uh, instead of the transformers and other thing, what we will do is we will insert a transmission line of the same characteristics as that of transmission line, and having a length L is equal to the wavelength divided by 4. That is, the length of the transmission line to be inserted will be equal to quarter of the wave. That is why the name comes quarter wave transformer. But there is another method, stub matching, which is better than the quarter wave transformer. The stump is nothing but a piece of transmission line which is connected parallel to the main transmission line. So stub is nothing but a piece of transmission line connected parallel to the main transmission line. So like this. So this is nothing but a piece of transmission line connected parallel. And there are different way in which we can connect the stubs. So one is series connection, but it is not at all used nowadays. Now another one is shunt stub matching. And again, there are different types like single stub, then double stub and triple stub. So as the name indicates, in the case of a single stub, we will insert only one stub. Double stub, we will insert two stubs at two different fixed positions and so on. So next one is, what is electromagnetic compatibility and interference? So whenever we are placing an device in an electromagnetic field, okay, uh, it is very much required that the performance of the device should not deteriorate due to the effect of the electromagnetic environment. So electromagnetic interference is the degradation in the performance of a device due to the electromagnetic fields in the environment. So on the other hand, this electromagnetic compatibility is that device should not produce, or that should not produce intolerable disturbances to the electromagnetic environment. So electromagnetic compatibility is achieved when the device can perform satisfactorily without producing intolerable disturbance to the electromagnetic. And there are so many origins for the electromagnetic interferences. They may be natural and they may be artificial. And again, EMI sources, they may be natural and artificial. And the origins are either conducted emissions or the radiated emissions. Conducted emissions is, okay, due to or through an metallic plate. Sometimes the voltage or the current can emit. And in the case of a radiated emissions, either electric field or the magnetic field through radiated electric or magnetic field. And we have to control this electromagnetic interference. And there are so many techniques for that, like grounding, shielding, and filtering. You know that grounding is nothing but connect an electrically conductive plate to the ground. And if the grounding is proper, there is no need, or we can minimize the need of shielding and filtering. And in the case of shielding, the purpose is to confine the radiated emissions to a specific region. And if the shielding is proper, again, there is we can minimize the need of filtering. Filtering is nothing but you can use any of the filters so that only the required frequencies are passed through and all other frequencies can be blocked out. So whatever things we have just discussed about the contents and module 6. So first we discussed about the plane waves through lossy and lossless dielectric dielectric that is conductors and conductors. So normally for university examinations, numerical problems are asking from the lossy lossless dielectric conductors, that is like find the wave velocity, find the intrinsic impedance, and so on. Next, we discussed about the skin effect, which means that the high frequency electromagnetic waves are just passing through the surface of the conductor. And there we have skin depth also. And normally 5 marks questions may be asking from, okay, write a short note on skin effect and so on. And you have, just we move on to the derivation of transmission line equations. That is generally an essay question. And voltage reflection coefficient and VSWR, I have dealt it detailed. Okay, and the different techniques to match the impedance such that the maximum power can be transferred from source to load. And finally, what are the causes for electromagnetic interferences and how we can control the interferences like grounding, shielding, and filtering. So from electromagnetic interference and impedance matching, normally short notes are asked.
Okay.
So,
So on behalf of ASAP and all, I'm very thankful to ma'am.
okay, I am so happy to associate with the ASAP people, especially Subin, Manchusha, Arya, and Sriji. And sincere thanks to them. And again, my sincere thanks to all my listeners, and stay safe. Thank you.